Hi, Stephen Mirassou here. Just opportunity to talk with you about new wine release in this particular case, a wine called Vincere, Vincere, however you want to pronounce it. It's a wine that we've been making at Stephen Kent for, gosh, since 2000. So I think this is our 24th vintage, maybe something like that, 23rd vintage. And I think most wines are interesting because they have a story. Or let me put it this way, interesting wines, the wines that are really interesting, the wines that are compelling above and beyond their deliciousness, are wines that have a real story to them. Wines that come about in serendipitous ways, let's say. And vincere, the Italian word that means to win or to overcome, and I'll explain why it's called that in a couple of minutes. This would have been 1999, maybe 1998. I was on a trip to Florida. No, I'm sorry. This would have been 2000 or 2001, before 9/11. So before September of 2001, I was flying to Florida to a restaurant called La Serena in West Palm Beach, owned by a buddy of mine, Marcello Fiorentino. I had been there a couple of months earlier on a sales call working the Florida market, was one of our important markets back then. Hopefully will become an important market again for us at some point in time. And Marcello had already had our wines. He had one of his sales reps come by and taste them on the wine. So when I got there with a different sales rep, he'd already knew the story about Stephen Kent and was a fan of the wines, which was incredibly gratifying for a very small brand out from Livermore, California. And we talked about doing a winemaker dinner together. His winemaker dinners are legendary. He's been doing them for 30 some odd years. They're very well done. The food's amazing at this restaurant. The people are even better. And we were talking about the wines, and we realized that we were going to need one more red wine to fill out the menu. And it just so happened that I had been working on a blend from the 2000 vintage that was a blend of Sangiovese, the primary grape of Chianti, and Cabernet Sauvignon, both from the home ranch vineyard in Livermore, our home vineyard. And I was working on a super-Tuscan homage. Really love the way that the rusticity of Sangiovese, the redder fruit, the great acidity, the very earthy notes of that particular variety worked with the rounder, riper, darker fruited Cabernet Sauvignon, so that we got something that was a blend that was really compelling, a blend that was delicious, that was age worthy. Some of the gosh, I go back 20 plus years to find old bottles of Vincere laying around, and they're absolutely stunning still. So we agreed that we were going to make this wine and bring it to the dinner. I had put the blend together in 12 bottles. 7 bottles were Sangiovese, 5 bottles were Cabernet. And at that point in time, still, you could take wine with you in your carry-on. So prior to 9/11. So I had a case of wine with me with my suitcase and my carry-on. I rented a car from Fort Lauderdale, raced up as quickly as I could. This is right about rush hour traffic. I got to the dinner at the restaurant about 15 minutes before it started. So I uncorked these bottles, dumped all of the wine into a pot in the kitchen, mixed it up, put it back in the bottle. So we had the blend that I had made when I was back in California. And the wine was a big favorite that night in the restaurant. We decided that because people loved that wine so much, and because we had access to this really great fruit, that we would continue to make this blend. Vincere has been around for, as I said, 20 plus years. There was only one time when the blend was not Sangiovese and Cabernet, and that was the second vintage back in 2001 when it was Barbera and Cabernet. We apparently ran short of, if I remember correctly, ran short of supply on Sangiovese. We only had about an acre of it. Every year since, it has been Sangiovese and Cabernet in varying percentages. Usually it's roughly 60% Sangiovese and 40% Cabernet. The 2023 vintage is going to be released in the next couple of days. And I'm very happy with this wine. One of the reasons why I'm happy is just overall and generally speaking, the 2023 vintage is absolutely stunning. It's a glorious wine, glorious vintage, full of great wines. It was cooler than 22. It was cooler than 24, a little bit warmer than 21. So it has a lot of those characteristics of slightly leaner notes, leaner fruit notes than 22 and 24 have, but still has the heft and the body that we want with lower alcohol levels. I think we're at like 14.1 or so on this, 14.2. There's a beautiful, again, that kind of blend of rusticity and refinement from Cabernet Sauvignon, the rusticity from Sangiovese that really adds something to this blend. This has been released to our club members first and will be available probably for folks who aren't members yet when they come to our tasting room. We hope you get a chance to try the wine. Hope you fall in love with it the way we have. A quick note on the name. We were going to call the wine Marcellaya. So that AIA suffix is something you find in a lot of Italian super-Tuscan Ornellaia Sassicaia. And we were going to name it for my friend Marcello. We had labels printed. We got label approval from the government. And just before we even had labels printed, and just before we were about to bottle the wine, I got a letter from Gallo who said that it was really cute that we wanted to name this thing Marcellaya. They felt it was too reminiscent of a brand of theirs at that point in time. I don't even know if it exists anymore. And they would let us use it one time, but after that, they were going to take us to court. And discretion being the better part of no money, we decided that we were going to change the name from the very beginning. And I went through an Italian dictionary and found this verb vincere, to overcome. Seemed like the perfect word for what we were going through with the mega wine. Anyway, Vincere 2023, really beautiful blend. Look forward to you tasting it. Look forward to you commenting on how you enjoyed it. Stephen Mirassou, Stephen Kent Winery. Cheers.